Hey everyone, Jake here, back on the Made for the Range YouTube channel doing some more shaft testing today with a couple of options from UST. We've got the M40X TSPX concept shafts in the Link series with the red, the blue, and the black. And I'm also going to throw in the Link white for comparison's sake, just because I haven't hit the red, the blue, or the black before in a driver, but I have hit the white, so it's nice to have something that I know the feel of and can kind of give a good comparison to. As always, we're going to try to break down these profiles and match them up to a swing type, and I'll do my best to describe the player that I think will fit well into each of these golf shafts. What's really unique about this lineup is that they're slightly higher torque designs than what you might compare to from other brands, which means that there's going to be a ton of feel in these golf shafts, even in something like the black. I really like the white for that reason, because the Link white to me feels really great, but it's also super stable. So I'm really interested to dive into the rest of the lineup. The red is supposed to be our higher launching, the blue is in the mid there, and then the black is the lower launching option. What's really interesting though, and what I'm really keen to look at, is the blue profile specifically is very, very unique. It's got an extremely strong midsection with a stiffer handle, which is something that you don't typically see in a mid-launch, mid-spin profile necessarily. So I'm really interested to see how that one does and then give some feedback there as well, because I think that one's gonna work great for a very specific type of player. Let's dive into the bay. We're here at Sub 70s Fitting headquarters in Sycamore, Illinois. We're gonna be using the 859 Pro, just like we have in our past couple of shaft tests. We've got super stroke grips on everything. These are all 6 F5 shafts built to 45 1/4, and we're gonna be using the same setting on the head with some TaylorMade TV5X golf balls. Let's hop into the bay, let's get going. All right, so as always, it's a blast to hit some new golf shafts. I've never actually hit the red, blue, or the black in a driver before. I have hit the white, which is why I threw it in the data there, just because I personally do really like the white. But really, really cool stuff here from each shaft. They definitely had some very distinct differences. They felt very different across the board, and they all handled things a little bit differently. So I want to dive into our foresight data here and go through some of that. I started off with the blue because that's supposed to be kind of the mid-launch, mid-spin profile, at least on paper. And the one thing that you'll notice about the blue is it is an extremely strong midsection. It actually has a really strong handle section as well. It's the strongest of the group, both in the handle and in the midsection. And that could be really good for players that actually get a little bit steep on their driver or have more of a zeroed out attack angle. That's great for a lot of players that are trying to hit that big cut. They get down on the ball a little bit more. So that might be something really, really useful. And you can see in my testing that leading into a softer tip section with such a strong handle and a strong midsection, the face for me was sort of all over the place because it just wasn't timing up for my swing. But I think somebody who really drops into the slot and then develops a lot of speed through impact, but like very aggressively through impact, is really, really going to like that shaft, because that soft tip right through impact is going to produce even more speed for that stronger aggressive player that starts their transition a little bit late through the golf swing. So really, really cool stuff from there. I would love to take one of those and tip it and then see how it does in a mini driver. Actually would be really, really cool. The one thing that we do want to look at is the dispersion chart up on the top right there. You can see, like I said, for me, the blue was just a little all over the place. It was definitely the one that got a little bit more wild compared to the rest of them. You can also see that the launch is significantly lower. Again, for me, I think I wasn't activating that midsection quite properly or timing it quite properly. So that tip was really kind of messing around through impact and wasn't giving me consistent results just because it didn't match to me. Again, I would love to tip one of those and then maybe throw it in a mini driver, because I think that would create kind of a little bullet machine, which would be fun. And then I moved into the black, which out of the three, I figured would be more my speed, and it pretty much was. I gotta admit, this wasn't my best day swinging by any means, but I'm not a robot, and I think that's part of what makes these tests great. The black felt way better than I thought it was going to feel, though. Everything was moving properly. I felt like I could really feel connected to the head. It definitely is a stronger profile. It's got a really, really strong tip, and that strong tip is gonna make sure that that head kind of stays through impact. And if you're not timing that up with the softer handle and the softer midsection, it could give you some problems. And I would say that that's for the player that's going to load at the top most aggressively, because having that softer handle and that softer midsection, the shaft is going to create a little bit of lag as long as you're super aggressive from the top. And then that strong tip section is going to keep that head stable through impact. I did get some really good numbers off of that one. You can see that consistency wise, it was a little bit wild in the spin numbers, and for me that's usually how something like the black is going to go. But the one big thing that I did note is that it felt really good. It felt better than I would say most low launch, low spin black sort of profiles will feel, and I think that attributes to a lot of the torque in this. So there's a little bit higher torque value in all of these golf shafts if you compare them to others, but that makes the shaft feel a little bit better, and then you obviously are going to build stability based on the profile matching up to your swing. As we move into the red, finally, I loved the red. I would probably not play it in a driver, but the red was lively. Like, that thing was alive. It really wanted to launch and close through impact. I think that goes to the handle section being very similar to the black. It's a little bit softer, but then the shaft just gets softer and softer as it goes into the tip. So it really wants to launch. And for players that are a little bit more aggressive, that also means that it usually wants to close a little bit through impact as that droop is getting increased through the impact zone. With that tip section being a little bit softer, the head inherently wants to close a little bit and kind of shut down. And I did see a bunch of those. That was the one for me that went the most left consistently. The blue, again, was a little bit more wild, but the red tightened it up a little bit, but it definitely was the one that wanted to go left of the start line. And then I did throw the white in there. The white for me is the best feeling out of these. I think it gives you a little mix of the blue and the black, so it's a little bit more feel than the black has, which is really fun. And then the white just gives you a little bit more room for error, I guess. So it's a very stable golf shaft, but with lots of feel, and it also just, it allows a little bit of room for error when you don't just absolutely properly time that transition every single swing. It does spin just a little bit higher for me, and I know exactly why that is. If I was going to spend some time and get one of these absolutely dialed in, I would probably change some settings, maybe play with the length of the shafts as well. But again, I always do these tests with just one configuration. So today we're using a sub 70 859 Pro head TP5X golf balls, and then we got Super Stroke grips on everything. Of course, they're all built to the exact same standards. I did not tip any of these. They're all 6F5 golf shafts, playing at 45¼ inches. So really, really cool stuff here. So thanks to the UST team for sending these out for me to test. I absolutely love doing any new shaft tests, and I really do want to work with a couple of these and maybe some other configurations with some other clubs, because I think some of these are going to be really, really useful parts of the bag for different specific areas that I really think that these shafts could help out with. So again, really cool stuff here from the team over at UST. If you guys like this stuff, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I love doing shaft tests like this, and we're going to continue to get better and better and better with more data, better data, and hopefully cover as much product as possible. So subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want more of that, and we'll see you next time.